Hello everyone, welcome back to another segment of Come Fly With Us, inside information about insurance. We're back with Marcus Becerra, and everything going good today?
Going pretty good.
Good deal. So this is a really serious question we've got that come up, and we've kind of answered what this is, this endorsement, on a previous video. But really, I had a question recently. Someone asked me, do I really need uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage? Now, we've talked about what that is. Let's talk about why they need it.
Very rarely do we write a policy that doesn't have that, but the biggest reason is 40. You're supposed to, in the state of Texas, if you got a valid driver's license, whether you own a vehicle or not, you're technically supposed to have liability insurance. 40% of Texas drivers don't have auto insurance, so the likelihood of you getting in an accident where it's not your fault, or it could be a hit and run, or in this case or scenario, they don't have insurance or let it lapse, or even when some carriers, also too, is like, let's say there's 3 people living in the house and there's only 2 drivers listed on the policy, carrier might decline the claim if there's not a certain driver that was in the accident listed on there. So there's a couple of different options that can happen, a couple things that can happen that are not good for the, if you got hit by one of those. But essentially what it does, uninsured motorist, it just takes care for any kind of bodily injury or multiple, injuries, plus any kind of property damage to your vehicle that if, one of those instances, either a hit and run, or 1, they don't have insurance, or 2, they decline the claim because the driver wasn't listed, so it's pretty important. It's honestly, it's probably it's very less expensive than what your liability coverage and your limits are. But we see a lot of times where folks have your liability, they don't have any kind of personal injury protection, and they decline uninsured motorists. That's not a good idea. So, you get what you pay for, but at the same time, the uninsured motorist doesn't cost a whole lot more than,
Right. It's a very small amount that you're paying annually to be insured, that you're covered, because, man, 40% is a big number.
It's a lot.
I mean, it's probably bigger than a lot of people thought.
Yeah.
And then you just don't realize it. It's something you just don't think about. Oh, everybody's got insurance. No, everybody doesn't have insurance. And just as soon as you take that risk, Murphy's going to come along and someone's going to get in an accident with you. It's going to be their fault. They're not going to have any insurance. And then you're stuck holding the bag for everything.
Yeah, and insurance is a contractual thing. So, they might not have paid their bill. Their carrier sent them a note, said, hey, if you don't pay by July 1st, your policy is going to cancel. They don't pay on July 1st. They get an accident July 2nd, guess what? They don't have coverage, and you don't have coverage unless you have uninsured motorists. Technically, you can go on your collision deductible for your property damage if you do have that, but, that's going to look like an at-fault accident if they've got to go that route. And then 2, if you don't have, full coverage, you just got driving around with liability only, you're stuck there with a damaged vehicle. That's not going to be able to be repaired. So.
And like Marcus said, we do not like writing policies, and we really don't without that endorsement on there, because it doesn't cost very much. We're trying to protect you guys as much as we can, because we don't want something like this to happen to you when you're out there driving around. It just makes for a whole bad scenario, and it'll put a real bad taste in your mouth for an insurance company. Because it will put a bad taste in your mouth, because, oh my gosh, I declined that coverage, and now what am I going to do?
Yeah, the biggest thing when I talk to folks is like, well, I don't want to go with that carrier. Well, why didn't you want to go with them? Well, they declined a claim that I had. Well, did you have the coverage that you were supposed to? Well, no, I went and bought my policy online, and I didn't, and I was like, goes back to being contractual. If the coverage isn't there, if you don't pay for the coverage and you have a claim in that certain area, the adjuster cannot pay for it, so it's always best to, make sure you review your policy, you review your coverages, make sure that you've got everything that you want on the policy, so in case that claim does happen, whenever that happens, that you've got the right thing, coverage for.
That's right, because when it comes down to it, the adjuster, they're going to go black and white.
Yep.
It's black and white to them. There's no gray area whatsoever, and they're legally, they can't. So
they'd love to pay everybody, but that's just
So that's a good question. We appreciate you reaching out with that. So if you need any more information about insurance, you want us to check your policies for you, it doesn't cost anything. Reach out, Jim Insignia, jim.insignia@goosehead.com, or 469-585-6012. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks.